We're just going to go chat. We're not performing for. At least we ought not to be performing. Come on.
Oh, I'm coming back there. I thought you want me to sit. I'm sorry.
No, we're going to come back here. And sometimes you can't say that. If you still have one of her equines, got a problem giving it back to her?
Yes, I do. We're not going to do it. Because once we get them in our possession, they do not go back to the owner.
Why not?
I'm not convinced she can take care of them. That's why I'm not agreeing to send.
Give her I just want you to give her a reasonable shot at getting the animal back based on, you were mean to me, you old wicked witch of the, where are you from?
West.
Okay. It could be the wicked witch of the east, I don't know. The wicked witch of the
I'm
west.
from the west side.
Oh, okay. So you wested me and offed all of my horses, and now look at what I have. And if those are okay, and you still have in your possession one of those animals, or one of the equines you've taken from them, why not authorize her to have it back?
Because it's SPCA policy. She lost the animals, and why should she get them back?
Mostly because it hurts.
Well, I understand that, but if she loses them in court, she won't get them back.
The other point about it is that by that point in time, the SPCA is going to have a whole lot more money in the end.
And the SPCA knocked them out, and I don't expect them to be there.
Right. But per policy,
But
we
if
can't give them
they
back to the
are.
owner.
Okay.
It's a policy thing. I mean, we've had owners turn in animals before and turn around the next day and try to get them back. But, I mean, it's different with dogs and cats. Horses and stuff,
That's worth a try. Nope.
What part of the do you not understand?
Can you distinguish the horses by name?
By name, no. Description, yes.
Well, they much help. All I know is the name.
Well, if she describes it to me, then,
Well, we probably got pictures.
yeah, I've got pictures of everyone.
Let's go take a picture.
With some for Starfire, look at two of the older wore-out horses.
Okay.
I think the ones that are.
Why don't you go show her the pictures? Have her point out the ones that, and you go put the numbers on the pictures, right?
And we need a yeah. I'm not interested in having this once before with the dog case.
Really?
Yeah. Oak Ridge officer had a shepherd seized and was charged with animal cruelty. And I recall which station sent the camera crew out this off. But one of them did. My wife was all excited. Her honey got to be on the TV.
Call my supervisor, book her for the village.
That's all right. That's little school in Colorado. Like my undergraduate degree.
No, I've been wanting to have the judge make the final decision this entire time.
Could we just make it now? That's fine.
Right as a
Yeah.
judge.
If you really didn't make a public, I know, right?
Well, she agreed to do, or to do the.
Honorable James Matz,
May be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Josh. Good evening. I'm Judge Mitch. This is Diane standing in for Kim today, our civil clerk who is in seminar. Josh Bailey. May proceed, Mr. Johnson.
Ray Johnson.
Before we do that, Your Honor, I'm George Renneberg representing Ellen Williams. Not at all interested in having my client perform for the media. She does not want to be a Star, and I want the cameras included in the courtroom.
Well, we're not going to exclude them. They have agreed in open court and also in front of the county attorney and I that she will not be on film. And I don't have a problem with it. They're guaranteed that she will not be on film and she won't be filmed.
Oh, and what's the consequence if the guarantee is violated?
Well, I'm sure that there are many courts of law that would be, and you would probably like to represent her. If not, I'm sure someone else is. Animal Planet is a large conglomerate, is my understanding, and probably lots of money. And I'm sure they could be sued. So, anything else?
Yeah, you're wrong. I mean, we can guarantee that the defendant isn't identified, so we can pixelate or blur them out.
Now you're saying in open court.
Got my guarantee, which doesn't do us a bit of good if she winds up on national television. Oh, well, she can go sue somebody. It's a poor remedy sometimes, Judge.
Well, I'm sure it is. But is there anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Now you may proceed, sir.
Thank you. I can't speak for this gentleman here, so.
Scott,
Yes,
you're not going
she's
to
gonna blurt it
speak
up,
today, are
Judge.
you?
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, I'm Ray Johnson. We've reached an agreement on the bulk of the case before the court today. And our agreement is that the 115 dogs, the 2 cats, the 3 pigs, the 2 goats, and the 1 rooster be awarded to the Houston SPCA.
Yes, sir.
We have not been able to reach an agreement on the 5 horses and 1 donkey, and would like you to hear evidence on that issue.
Okay, you may proceed, sir.
If it please the court, actually, there is a goat that was in my client's possession, but that doesn't belong to her at all. It belongs to a young man who's out, there he is. And the goat was being kept there as a convenience, but was never my client's goat, and she didn't claim it.
And I
It's our
apologize to
position.
the court, that is absolutely correct. There is a dispute as to the ownership of the goat, and perhaps we could have the court hear evidence from the young man while he's here, and then you can make whatever rulings appropriate.
Absolutely.
For Francis to testify.
Clerk will come up.
Would you state your name, please, ma'am?
Jennifer Francis,
How are you employed, Ms. Francis?
as an animal cruelty investigator with the Houston SPCA,
How long have you been with the SPCA?
2.5 years.
Can you tell the court about your background with respect to animals?
I've had the first 2 levels of the National Cruelty Investigation School, and I've worked at a vet clinic as a vet technician for 6 years.
Did you have occasion to visit a residence of Ms. Ellen Williams?
Yes, I did.
How many times have you been to Ms. Williams' residence?
3 times, including the day we seized,
Starting when?
starting May 29th.
And what did you find on the first occasion?
When I went out on the first day, on May 29th, there were approximately 75 to 90 dogs on the property, a couple of horses, and some pigs. There was a dead pig at the time. Also some goats. Overall conditions were okay. I mean, there was a lot of the dogs were tied up in short chains, barely any food or water. There was some shelter. Horses were in pens with no food, visible food. I'm not sure about the water situation at that time. I advised the owner that certain dogs needed to see a veterinarian. She needed to decrease her numbers, and I left it at that point.
Okay, now with respect to the horses, and let's focus on the horses, the next visit was when?
October 24th.
And what did you find with respect to the horses and the donkey on that occasion?
They were, again, in a pen, it's the same pens. Again, no food that I could see. They're in a dirt pen with fencing. There are trees in there. I did not check on the water situation at that given time. I was actually focused more on the dogs. But they were all in pens, like I said, no food. I'm not sure on the water.
Let's back up to the May 29th visit first. You mentioned some goats at the premises on that occasion?
Yes,
Was one of them a black goat?
yes, he was there.
All right, and he was again there on October 24th and again there on November 7th when we seized
Yes,
that black goat along with a number of animals.
right.
Right. And then moving to November the 7th, what happened on that day with respect to the horses and the donkey?
That's the day we seized all animals. We removed all animals off the property, including the horses. The horses were, again, in the dirt lot with no food, no water. There was a trough, it was barely knew anything about them. The horses had long overgrown hooves. We do have medical reports from our veterinarian once they were evaluated at our shelter.
What was the general condition of the horses as you observed them on November the 7th?
Overall, I mean, body weight wise, they didn't look to be too terribly bad, but again, they had no food to eat. One horse is a severe cribber, meaning she chewed on the wood, and you could tell over the property she could chew on the wood and trees. No water. Two of the horses were by themselves in one pen, and the others were in another pen.
What is the effect of a horse being a cribber?
The horse stuck its tongue out, and come to find out the horse has no upper teeth. It's just from chewing so much on wood, trees, whatever it could get its mouth on. They tend to, it can be a behavior problem, from my understanding from what cribbing is. She does, that particular horse also has long overgrown hooves, and that went untreated, or untrimmed, I should say.
Do you have some photographs of the horses that you picked up on the 7th of November?
Yes, we do.
Have a bunch of witness on it.
Right, sir.
I see, thank you.
Would you describe those photographs and show them to the court?
The first few pictures are the pictures of the horses once we got them back to the shelter with their assigned number. I think we're missing a picture. And then the last few pictures are out at the scene of, one is the goats, the others are the pigs, and then shot of the horses out on the scene.
Which fences are caring for these horses?
Yes.
Can you give the court any information as to how much money the SPCA has incurred in caring just for the horses and the donkey?
Just for the horses and the donkey, it's $240 per horse. That includes feeding, vaccinations, deworming, coggins, testing, the vet exam. I mean, just the basic workup. I mean, we have not done any extensive treatments at this time because we do not have custody of them. The horses need their teeth floated. Again, this is in our vet report that we do have on the horses.
And by floating, what does that mean?
They have to sedate the horses to a certain point to where they're tired, but they can still stand, because the veterinarian has to put a special halter on them to where it keeps their mouth open. And basically, teeth floating means they grind their teeth down because they're getting too long.
And the horses also had parasites?
They had intestinal parasites, they had hookworms, strongyloids, which is another form of hookworms in horses, and again, long overgrown hooves.
Is that all a function of the 6 equine animals?
Yes,
The 5 horses and the donkey?
correct.
And asking that they be awarded to the SPCA?
Right.
And if they are awarded to the SPCA, what are the prospects for their being adopted out?
The treatments that the medical issues going on right now, I mean, it's easily treatable on all of them, and as of right now, I mean, they do stand a very high chance of being put up for adoption immediately.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
You have questions for the witness, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, I do, thank you. What happens to a horse when it doesn't have food and water?
They typically will lose weight.
Indeed, after time, they not only lose weight, they'll get seriously emaciated, won't they?
Generally speaking.
Well, if you don't feed a horse, it's going to get emaciated.
Right.
So, and you've been to places where you've seized horses and you're looking at ribs showing through the skin, hip bones being displayed because the animals had no food, right?
Correct.
You've seen those.
Yes.
Is that what you see here?
No, I never disputed that they were never underweight. I mean, again, we have a vet report showing what kind of body condition they're in.
Well, then why was it necessary for you to reiterate that when you go out to see these horses, well, there's no food there?
I
I
didn't
mean, it's
see
perfectly obvious to you the animals were being fed, wasn't it?
Someone's feeding them, I can't say it's the owner.
When you visited the horses at Ellen Williams' place, it's perfectly obvious they were being fed, wasn't it?
She never showed me any
By
horse feed.
someone.
She never showed me any horse feed.
And the horse fairy may have been down feeding those horses, but they were being fed, weren't they?
By somebody.
By somebody. Thank you, ma'am. How long can a horse go without water before showing visible signs of stress?
I'm not a veterinarian, I cannot answer that.
Okay. 15 dogs that Ellen was providing some food and care for. That tends to take some money, doesn't it?
Yes.
Dog food. And we've agreed that your organization is going to take care of these dogs, right?
Correct.
So Ellen doesn't have to buy that amount of dog food anymore, right?
Right.
So unless she has something else to do with the money she was spending on dog food, it seems reasonable to presume that she would be in a position to have a vet help her take care of those horses and the donkey, right?
Right.
She could do that. I
Possibly.
mean, she might take it to Vegas and blow it all on a gambling joint, wild men and drinking and such, but at least it would be available to take care of the horses.
Possibly. I can't
Okay.
say yes, I can't say no.
Well, yeah, well, it's a reasonable conclusion, isn't it? I mean, reasonable judgment.
She didn't take care of the animals on the property to begin with, so
Okay.
including the horses, that everything was preventable that's wrong with them.
Assuming there's enough money and time to spread amongst all the animals that were there, right? And we've agreed that the SPCA is going to take the dogs.
Right.
And you're going to get the pigs.
Correct.
And let's see, what else is there? You get the rooster.
Right.
But that's assuming you get the rooster a girlfriend. I think you promised
It'll
us
be
that.
done.
Okay. Rooster's going to get a girlfriend. You're not going to give Ellen back any goats.
Correct.
You're going to take care of those goats for her.
Right.
So net out, what she's going to donkey back will be 5 horses, a donkey, however many cats y'all couldn't sweep up when you raided her place, and 3, 4 dogs, 5 dogs?
They ran from them, yes.
Okay, that ran away from
I
her.
said
And that's
that,
it.
I assume so.
And part of the conversations we had was, Ellen, you know, you really need to get those cats and dogs spayed and neutered. And she's willing to agree to that, right? I mean, is that the way you recall it?
Yes, I remember her saying
Okay.
something along those lines.
And,
Costs more to take care of on a day-to-day basis versus a dog.
okay, does a horse cost more than 100 dogs on a day-to-day basis?
One horse versus 100 dogs?
How about 2 horses versus 100 dogs?
Day-to-day care, no.
How about, I don't recall.
Animal cruelty investigator.
Okay. Animal cruelty investigator, you've gone through 2 classes.
Right.
How many are there in total?
3.
Okay.
4th one being a kind of refresher every couple of years.
Okay. Kind of continuing education. You've done 2/3 of the education to get, what, some sort of certificate, specialization, something like
All
that?
right. Certificate?
And in the process, have you been exposed to equines?
Yes.
How sick as they can be, don't look like these horses do.
They've been neglected on every day-to-day care. Right.
And those horses don't look like these, do they?
And I did say someone is feeding them.
Okay, thank you.
How many did she have that she seized on November the
150.
7th?
115.
So in that time, they nearly doubled.
I wouldn't say double, but they definitely increased quite a bit.
My math's a little rusty.
All right.
Awarded these 6 equines that she'll continue to gather dogs, cats, and other animals, and not be able to take care of the 6 equines in the proper way.
Yes, I'm That's my fear. I'm
What is your name, please, ma'am?
My name is Roberta Westbrook.
How are you employed?
I'm a veterinarian for the HSPCA.
How long have you been a veterinarian?
I've been a veterinarian for 3.5 years.
Where did you go to school?
The University of Missouri, Columbia, Missouri.
And you got a degree in veterinary medicine?
Yes,
Have you practiced veterinary medicine before coming to work for the Houston SPCA?
yes.
Where,
I was in a private practice, a small animal private practice in Atascocita
for how long?
for 3 years.
Have you had an opportunity to examine the 5 horses and donkey that we're here talking about today?
What I will be reading is physical exams from another veterinarian that works for the SPCA who examined the 5 horses and the donkey.
Is it the custom and practice of the SPCA to make a record of an examination
Yes.
performed by any veterinarian?
Yes,
Is that record kept in the ordinary course of business of the SPCA?
yes.
Is the person that makes the record and performs the
May
exam?
well be in the general practice, but I have no advanced knowledge of these records, nor any opportunity to examine the same, no opportunity to examine the alleged that's unkind. No opportunity to communicate with the veterinarian who actually did the examination. So as a practical matter, she's sitting there reading somebody else's work. That's hearsay. And I have had absolutely no way to deal with some person who has actual personal knowledge prior to this hearing.
You wanna take a few moments to look at it?
No, sir, I would need to talk to the veterinarian who actually,
Overrule.
okay.
All of the 5 horses had overgrown teeth that could affect their eating. When the teeth are not floated or not in alignment, what that can do is they can overgrow, affecting their occlusion or the way that their teeth come together, which can affect the way that they eat and can eventually cause some health problems. All of the
Now, let me
horses.
stop you there. I don't know anything about horses.
Sure.
And I know my teeth don't keep growing. I think my teeth stop growing at some point in time. Do a horse's teeth keep growing over the course of its life?
They do, and they need
And-
to be trimmed down or floated
Okay.
to sustain proper occlusion.
And occlusion is just bite,
Absolutely,
matching of the top teeth to the bottom teeth.
absolutely.
And to do that, how do you wear those teeth down and grind those teeth down?
There's a tool that is necessary for that particular horse.
And please forgive me, I keep forgetting we have a donkey.
If you-
And I've asked you about the horses.
Let me look at the donkey specifically, that they don't overgrow and cause improper weight bearing. So that was found on all of them. About the most commonly in small dogs, we call them worms. When you say, my animal has worms, my dog has worms, those are intestinal parasites that live in the stomach and the intestines of the animal that result in diarrhea.
Routine part of caring for them.
Absolutely,
And is that necessary care?
yes.
Is that also true?
For horse, there was a nodule found just underneath the jaw, or the lower jaw, that could be an enlarged,
Abuse, right?
not active abuse, but neglect in the sense that they could have been kept up better than they were.
Somebody might have had a farrier out a week before you showed, or a week later, but I mean, horses weren't crippled, were they?
No,
So, the horses were not unable to move around because my lady didn't have her horse's feet done.
that's correct.
Okay. And,
State rest this time, sir. Do you have a witness you'd like to call?
yes, sir, I'd like to call my client. I'd like to call her outside the chamber, however.
That's fine.
Someone to help you with transporting them horses if your trailer's not available, or you don't have something to tow that trailer with? Do you have what it takes to take care of 5 horses and a donkey?
I have been for 10 years, I've had them 10 years, yes, sir.
Well,
Yeah,
veterinarian.
yeah, Dr. Umling, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
even people that have horses.
All right, well, that's fair, because you learned something here in
Yes,
court
I
today,
have.
right?
Mhm.
Okay. Exactly.
I reached the point where I realized I was, reached the point of no return.
Yeah. Were you a little bit overextended, Ellen?
Yeah.
Okay.
but it's hard to do away with it. She worked at two
Okay,
different things. She told me
and
she
in
could work.
the end, Jennifer and the SPCA and their minions have in fact probably done your animals some good. But most
Oh,
of them.
yes, they have. Morning, 7 at night, or 5, whatever it gets dark, 5.
Yeah.
But,
And
and we're all a big family out
you
there.
realize, and is that what you want to do?
I would love to have them.
Judge, the only other matter I'd like to clear up is the goat,
I live probably 5 minutes down the road from Miss Williams.
all right? You're telling the court that the black goat that we've entered a photograph into evidence of belongs to you.
Yes, sir.
What was it doing on Ms. Williams' premises?
I had received the goat and its twin sister, and it was a gift for me from a friend of mine. And I had a pit bull at the time, and he actually killed the female goat. So I wanted to take my male goat over to Miss Williams because she had a pin already set up for him. Because at the time I had just got him, didn't have a pin. And then I got rid of the.
Your resources to help her move horses?
Yes, sir.
Fine, pass the list, Judge.
Who has cares deeply for animals, but I think that in and of itself is the problem. She demonstrated a propensity between May of
If you will. Hasn't done preventive maintenance. And I suppose it occurred to him that one of those horses has been out there 18 years. You don't have 18 years of neglect. Clearly, SPCA is going to keep an eye on this lady. If it doesn't work out,
How large of an area, are the horses on at this time? I think-
Probably an acre, maybe an acre and a half. I've never measured it. I have 10 acres, and the pin will be, I don't.
Normally, you mentioned earlier about the worming on horses. I'm not a horse authority. We've had a lot of horses in the past and show horses of different kinds, but normally you would worm a horse about every 6 months.
Right,
That's the way we
absolutely.
did.
Your
Okay,
decision.
all right, well, I'm about to
Although-
do so.
Do you
I
have a
don't know
farrier?
them, I don't have horses anymore.
Oh,
And
okay.
I wouldn't recommend one for you. I wouldn't recommend one. But you are right, if they, it's important to have, let me say this, I believe that you're an honest and a caring person, and I am disappointed that, I understand your caring heart and want to take care of animals, but I do think you got overextended, with the dogs and the cat. And even though you had a caring heart and wanted to help the animals, it's basically hurting them by having so many and not being able to help them.
I have begun to realize that, sir.
And it is my opinion here today that you, with the help of these, you seem to be a very independent lady and to be in old-fashioned terms, good shape for your age. You're quick of mind and seem to be able to move around about for your health and all.
Very
And
blessed.
Bottom line, I'm going to let you have your horses and the donkey back today. But I don't think it's unfair to expect them to be monitored, whether it's by the SPCA, or I wouldn't be surprised to see Officer Morrow out there sometime.
He's welcome.
Certainly if he,
He's been very
it's
nice to
fine,
me.
but
I'm not knocking him
your,
either.
your horses do not seem to be underweight. They seem to be fed by someone. I agree with that. Their hoof care, I'm concerned about that. And as far as floating the teeth, again, I'm not knowledgeable. I had heard of that from my grandfather many years ago, but the only time I remember them doing it, I'm not saying I'm not recommending it or not, but if they have a problem eating, that I would worry. And you realize that back in those days that they used horses to make a living with, and mules as well for farm and different things. So I understand we've got the dog and the cat and the pig and the goat situation taken care of here today.
Yes, sir.
We've got agreements on that, and the SPCA.
Well, we've got one black goat.
Well,
We
with
need to
exception of the black
determine
goat, yeah.
whether it should be returned to this gentleman or
Thank you.
awarded to the SPCA.
Yes, sir. Are you requesting from the court, sir, to have the goat returned to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have adequate
I would.
housing or pasture or something for this animal to, well, it doesn't take a large area? 5 horses and the 1 donkey back to Miss Williams. And I'm counting on you to give me an appointment, something from Dr. Umelane's office, or back up here and you won't get them back.
I
That's
will
fair
do
enough.
everything in my power.
Judge Metz, tell me what your final ruling was on this.
Well, after hearing all the evidence here today in this seizure hearing on the horses and the one donkey, I decided to give the animals back to Miss Williams. She exhibited here to the court today that she is capable of taking care of these animals. And after hearing all the evidence, the horses were and the donkey in pretty good shape other than their hooves needing trimmed. And she has assured me that she will get that taken care of, and has assured me also that she will have appointments for the horses right away to take them to the vet. She was going to fax something from that vet to the court for us to confirm that, and if she does so, then I think the horses will be taken care of, and which is my understanding that the SPCA will continue to monitor to make sure that is taking place here in the near future.
Of all the animals, what kind of count do we have here?
Well, as my understanding, we had about 115 dogs and cats, and which they had agreement here today that the SPCA would take those animals and care for them and adopt the ones out that they could. And they were asking for the horses here today, but the horses, as I stated earlier, were in fairly good shape. You know, on the scale from 1 to 9, they were around a 4 or 5, and 5 being perfect on that scale. The horses were 4 and 5s as far as their weight, and it appears that the horses had been being fed, and so I was comfortable that they were being taken care of, other than, as I stated, with the hooves needing trimmed. She exhibited behavior to me, and by her testimony, that she would take care of the horses, and I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. As I said, they will be monitored closely. If not, then I'm sure we'll be back in court.
Joyous or sad, we left nothing behind. We left nothing on the